أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So who has a cell phone? Raise your hand if you have a cell phone. Okay, everybody. Not the Jamia guy. very, very low on that side. What if I told you with your cell phone that don't use it? Take the SIM out, never charge it. What you should use it for is as a paperweight. Everybody knows what a paperweight is? When you're on your desk, you put something to hold the papers down so they don't fly away. What would you think about that? Anybody? Crazy. Somebody said crazy. This is the same as a human being not striving for spiritual progress. So much there, right, in a phone. You can do so many things with it. Human being has such amazing faculties and capacities. We're the single creature on this earth that has consciousness of a greater being. We feel love, we feel emotions, extreme joy, pain, sorrow. We have that, the framework to do so much. And I was here in this masjid yesterday in Jummah, and respected Amir Sahib said this. He said that human beings, Amir Sahib said that Allah Ta'ala has said that He was a hidden treasure, and that it is human beings who can uncover that treasure and who can show that treasure for what it is through their own capacities. The Bible says, I have made man in my image. And the Holy Quran says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. I have made man in the best formation, all that potential. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was just a man, right? But he scaled the heights. Allah Ta'ala showed him heaven and hell. He showed him the spiritual dimensions. He showed him everything. What was different between him and us? We're all flesh, we're all bones, blood. How many times did the Holy Prophet ﷺ say, I am a man like you? What made him who he was, what made him special? This is mentioned in the closing verses of chapter 18 of the Holy Quran, is the relationship with God, relationship with Allah Ta'ala. And I once remember several years ago, I heard a khutbah from Khalifatul Masih IV, Rabi Rahimullah. And it was a khutbah from many years ago when Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahab passed away. And what he had said about him, he said that he was a man who had achieved the pinnacle of worldly success. He was the judge and the president of the UN General Assembly. People talk about Winston Churchill. He was a great debater and a great speaker. Hazrat Chaudhry Sahab cornered him in a debate once. The services that Hazrat Chaudhry Sahab has done, not just for Pakistan, for Ahmadiyya, for other countries even. In Yemen, boys are named Zafrullah, so many of them, because of the great regard they have for Chaudhry Sahab. But Huzur said that what made him great was his striving for spirituality. His work he was doing all the time, yes, but on his mind, in his heart, day and night, 24/7, was getting closer to Allah Ta'ala. So, you know Sir Isaac Newton, right? Everybody knows him. What was one of his amazing discoveries was that he showed that light, white light, actually has a spectrum, and it actually splits into so many different lights. How did he do this? Any science students? Anyone else? Yes, Haris Chaudhry. A prism, right? He took a prism and he passed light through it. He did an experiment. And this is what all scientists do. They do experiments to arrive at more knowledge. And this is exactly what the prophets, the saints, the men of God are. They are spiritual scientists. They don't leave things to the theoretical. They explore. They get after it. Because they have a yearning in themselves. They know there's more out there. They know that there is more to their life than just the mundane. So, we talked so far about what can enable a human being to reach his true potential. Spirituality, pursuing the finer things. But how? How do we do that? We all have the same 24 hours. How do some people go beyond and some people get left behind? Who's that? Sorry? Napoleon, yes. Napoleon Bonaparte. He was one of the great conquerors of history. He also had 24 hours in a day. There's a famous story that one time one of his generals, there was something catastrophic had happened in the developments of what was going on in the war and the battle. And a general went to his room at around 2 a.m. 2 a.m. to tell, look, General Bonaparte, look what's happening. And to his astonishment, he was up at 2, 3 a.m., even though he had such a long day of so many things to do. And he said, you're still up? And Bonaparte replied, still up? I've had my sleep and I'm up. He used to work all the time for the cause that he was going for. But he was just a worldly conqueror. His achievements, his accomplishments, they were restricted to a small sphere in time and place. They don't have the impact or lasting effect that we see with the men of God. Look at the prophets. They used their nights. Look at the saints. Look at all the men of God. They would strive for spirituality to the extent that they would give up their sleep because they had that burning desire. Like how many of us have pulled all-nighters for schoolwork? Right? Like everybody. That's an assignment. 5-10% of your mark of one course out of 100 in your degree. And we kill ourselves for those things. How many of people have stayed up all night to pray, to solve a problem, to say, God, what am I doing on this earth? How can I get closer to you? But spirituality, like any other field, you need teachers. You need somebody to follow. The prophets of God are there. The Holy Prophet ﷺ is there. But there's also the companions and the great elect of God. Why are they there? Hazrat Muslim Maud once wrote, he said their function is to bring ordinary people closer to God. Why? Because sometimes people can think there is a great difference and a chasm between me and a prophet, or me and the prophet. But not between the people who are not prophets. They are totally just like us. But that's why the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that my companions are like the stars. Pick any one of them and they will guide you. Everyone knows who this is. This is the first Khuddamul Masih of Jamaat Ahmadiyya. What was his profession? Does anybody know? He's a doctor, right? Exactly. Not only was he a doctor, he was a physician of renowned fame. One of the kings in India, the princes, he was his royal physician. Not only that, he was the leading, one of if not the leading scholar in India at that time, in people's eyes. He was so gifted in so many ways. There's one time somebody challenged him to a debate on a book very thick. And he said, "Can I read the book?" And he said, it was nighttime. He said, "Yes, but you have to return it to me by the morning." He read the whole book. It was hundreds of pages. And when he debated the next night, he was the clear cut way beyond everybody else. This was the mental gifts. This was the ability. One time when he was coming back from a trip, he memorized the majority of the Holy Quran in a few months. But his main purpose in life was not only worldly development. He was driven by an insatiable thrust for spiritual progress. And the point I wanted to highlight with Huzur was one time, he had gone all over India and all over much of the world at that time for search of knowledge and for spirituality. One time he walked into a room, a large room. There is a saintly type person sitting at the front. And it's described as he had a white beard and white shining clothing, and that man was so just beautiful to behold. And around him were students trying to learn from him, trying to just hear what he's saying. Hazrat Maulvi Sahib slammed open the door and he walked in. He was dirty, he had traveled long, he was leaving footsteps of dirt along the way. And he asked him, "I want to learn from you." Everybody else was taken aback. What is the manner of this person? Look how he's coming in and just... That was the boldness. That was, and the teacher replied, "I don't teach anymore." And he convinced him. And the teacher said, "I'll teach you." How did he convince him? Just through his sheer drive and motivation to want to be greater. Then when they started, the physician asked him, "What is your goal?" He said, "To be the best physician that ever lived." These are the types of standards we need to have. And these are the type of thinking. And this is what we see in the elect of God. The final thing that I'll just close out with here is people think that we often think that striving spiritually is difficult. It's difficult. So is lifting weights. I'm sure half the Khuddam here go and lift weights, play basketball, do stuff like that. No pain, no gain. Anything worth doing is hard. But what about the practicality of spiritual progress? You know, it's easy to get demotivated, or it's easy to think it's such a remote goal. But did you know, and I think you do know, but I want to state it just because sometimes we take these things for granted. The Holy Quran, everything in the Holy Quran is a fact. This is what we believe. Holy Quran says, God says, if you come towards me, I'll guide you. That's a fact. If we believe that fact, then we should start making progress towards God. We should go after Him, whatever we need to do. If we need to stay up in the nights, if we need to, we're lying on our sides, we need to think about Him. If we need to talk to spiritual people, men of God, if we need to write to His whatever we need to do it. Because God will respond. There's a hadith in which He says that somebody comes to me the length of a hand, I'll go to him an arm's length. If you walk to me, I'll run to you. He says, I answer the prayers of the one who supplicates to me. These are facts. Who's heard of Ashra Mubashra? Anybody heard? If you raise your hands if you've heard of what Ashra Mubashra is. Jamia students, yeah, okay. You guys. These are the 10 companions who in their very life were given glad tidings that whatever they did, they were the elect of God and they were promised paradise. Of them was one named Saad Abi Waqas. He was just our age when he came into Islam. Just our age. And he rose to that standard. You might think that's the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, but in Islam there are 2 eras. And nothing in between is really talked about. There are 2 eras in Islam. Awwalin and Akhirin. We are in this Akhirin. We have a prophet in this age. Fresh. All the signs of God. And Hazrat Masih Maud said that I've come to kindle the fire of divine light in people. We have it all in front of us. We have the companions of the promised Messiah. You know, the people talk about Sahaba, Tabain. We are Tabain. And finally, Hazrat Masih Maud said, the world is in every field today. Every field they are advancing far. But in the field of God, it is you. Let's advance far. Jazakallah.